So, Laurent, hello, sir. I hope you can. Oh, there you are. You're looking well, mate.
Well, last time I think we saw each other was in a festival in UK, I
Yeah,
think, and you played before me, and it's been a long time.
it has. I mean, it's funny because obviously I didn't. Your first time in in Manchester and Hacienda, I
Mm,
did. I never properly met you, but I knew kind of lots of people around you at the time. But
mm.
it probably wasn't until later on in the sort of late '90s when you came over and played Electric Chair which is still a very talked about iconic gig. You know, it's weird. I would say when I spoke to about in Manchester, that gig, that particularly the first one, it was just after the war and the
It was
gold.
during the war. It was
Yeah.
during the war. I remember very well because I played that a cappella from what's his name, American rapper Saul Williams, called "Not in My Name." And at the end of the a cappella, I remember very well playing Edwin Starr War.
Oh
And
my.
funnily enough, I mean, the club went absolutely crazy. And I remember that it really, it really meant something for a lot of people. And funny enough, I did a very big radio show for my 60th birthday in February, and I told that story. I played War because what I
Yeah.
did is I chose to play one or two track per year. So I did 60 years in music and I played one or two track per year. And I think it came out in, I can't remember the year, but for that year, I played War by Edwin Starr, and I told the story about Electric Chair. And
That's
believe
amazing.
me, that moment is stuck in my head.
I mean, I have to say, when you played that, there was just the raw emotion of it because no one had expected it. Subconsciously, we were all very fearful and worried, and the anxiety of not dissimilar to where we are at the moment, which I'll come on to. But when you played it, I don't think I've ever heard a noise. The eruption the track came in after the acapella, which was a fucking that was a swerve ball next level of, and it was a real emotional thing. You know, it
It
was.
was, it
I'm
was,
getting
it was.
goosebumps now just
I,
remembering that
I
time.
always believe that when it's the moment as DJs, we need to sometimes play some songs that mean something or says something, And that time it was that war was very disrupting. And I remember it very well. And I think it was the right track for the right moment. And it meant a lot to everyone there. Yeah, I think it's our job once in a while to say
Yeah.
something.
It was interesting because I've been talking about this a lot, not just with the older lot. My stepkids are now, funnily enough, today, Louis 19. I'm going to be seeing him later, and they're all going out, and Lila, and they're going out. And you know, it's really interesting when you talk about that because I feel like in music, and especially in clubs, either it's austerity or difficult times or something very fearful that produces anxiety and worry. Sometimes the most passionate and emotional moments seem to happen in a club in those moments when the economy, when everything's doing all right. Less so. I think there's these moments where you play this record and it just connects with the psychology of everyone in the club at that
Of course,
moment.
of course, of course,
And it
of
really
course.
feels. Sorry,
And
go on. You must
we
go on.
no, no. I was just saying it makes things very strong and very special when you do capture the moment and when you play the right song at the right time and when people understand what you're trying to say. I mean, I remember another moment where when I arrived in New York when Trump was first president and when he did the Muslim ban, and the vibe in the airport when I landed in New York was really fucking strange, man. And
Yeah.
I thought, I need to say something tonight because this is absolutely disgusting, and I need to say something to the people in the club, tonight. And I thought, what do I have in my record box? Because I had to find something within my boxes. What do I have I can play that will resonates to people.
Yeah.
And what I did is I found a way to stop a record with like a long ending. And then I had the speech from Martin Luther King. I have a dream, but I have the whole speech. And I thought, you know what? I know it's not accurate because he's dead or whatever, but I mean what he says in there about, people being together and hoping for much better future and, different community being together and stuff. I played the whole thing. And at the end, I played Desire by Carl Craig. And I
Right.
had some people crying. I mean, there was a lot of people, there was a lot of emotion there. And I truly think people understood what I tried to say.
Yeah, it's funny you should say it because just before COVID, feeling like the broken man of rave, like the Gandalf of rave these days. I sometimes just before COVID, in terms of, I felt like the over earnest old man going on about, and sometimes it's the circumstances in the environment that create a mood I've definitely noticed in the last year, Laurent. I really believe this, and yes, I'm an optimist, but I'm also a realist. I know that when things aren't working and they're tough on dance floors and in clubs, and culture got quite aggro after there was a lot of steroids and men on the wrong drugs, and
Changed a lot. Yeah, it's changed
it
a
felt
lot.
quite aggro. The last year, I really truly believe this, and lots of people have not been out for years, including the new people coming through. There is something going on, and I think it is like you talk about and what's happening with Trump and what happened back in the war. There's a real sense of fear. I mean, we're entering a period of history which I don't think I've ever seen anything more brutal. The lack of information, of misinformation, the aggro rhythm of hate and the echo chambers. I've definitely noticed something beginning to happen. I thought, is this me just overthinking or overseeing it? But I really believe, and it's always that, like, for instance, when you play a certain record that has a certain vocal, there was that, it's just come out, it's the Frankie Knuckles unreleased a cappella, which is about 6 minutes long of The Pressure. Now, that's a bit of a swerveball long a cappella to play. But what I've noticed is there's a real kind of sense of people getting together, of love in the air. And I don't want to sound like a tired old hippie, but I really sense something is happening again, where clubs mean something again. And I think I think there's a real connection to now when certain, it's funny, you see people, I mean, we both love techno, obviously, but we love a breadth of music. But I've noticed some of those more vocal tracks about coming together, of connecting with people, and something's going on, and there's a warmth amongst people. There's a decency amongst not just the old lot, but the new young lot. And I'm an optimist. There feels like, is this the coming together again? Because shit is so tough out there. It's insane.
It's a difficult time because I think social media as well, the rise and the explosion of social media has kind of separated people. Before we were going to clubs and there was a very sense of togetherness and stuff like that. And I think now there's, everybody has a phone and there's a very personal there's a community sense, but it's very different than the way I guess we see the community, where they're part of a community, but a lot of them are participating on their own at home. And it's a very strange thing. But saying that, you're absolutely right. And I have as well noticed for the last, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, like some of my gigs had become so emotional. I mean, I've been same as what you say. I've been playing much more vocals. I guess I'm trying to do a big change from the average hard techno that is happening nowadays. But yes, I've been playing more house and more vocals. And I was in Serbia last weekend. The emotion in that room was so unbelievable. There was a real sense of we are so much together and there's so much love in this room. It was fucking brilliant. It was great. And I've had some amazing gigs, really, really amazing gigs lately. As you say, I think some things are changing, perhaps because people are kind of realizing how tough it is at the moment, how dangerous it is, how crazy the situation is getting. And perhaps the fact that of, just getting together on a dance floor, coming from super different background, believing into different religions, or believing in or not into
Yeah.
religion, but at least, putting everybody together from all different kinds of social backgrounds and stuff. It has sense. It makes sense. And I think maybe it's starting to make sense again. I
Yeah.
hope so. I hope
I
so.
mean, well, yeah, I think there's definitely something happening for sure, and I think you're right. This thing, the phone, I mean, the way it atomized us on so many levels, and I'm not just talking politically, just on so many levels about meeting in actual 3D in the pub or a restaurant. For a lot of people, changed because they stayed in. There was a lot of fear and anxiety. So there've been so many moving parts, and I can't remember a time when the influence of social media and the amount of misinformation about everything and just people arguing, the lack of critical thinking. And I don't want to sound like one of those centrist dads, but in a sense, that people have lost. So when people come back together, there might not be conversations going on necessarily, but the impact of music it's completely different than it was 3-4 years ago. And I'm kind of an optimist about it. But I also think that the young lot, I've really, really sensed when, I mean, I know you've talked about this before, but I used to be, I played some quite long records as well.
Yeah,
I
me
know
too.
you do. And there's a recent one that's just come out, a Ron Trent thing, Electric Jungle, I think it's called. It's 13
Yeah.
minutes long.
Yeah, I know it's very long.
I think 4 years ago, like, God, this is gonna. I think after 5 minutes, this is gonna empty the room. But the other thing that's happened is, I don't know why, but somehow cognitively, the younger crowd are concentrating more on longer tracks, and maybe it's a reaction against the kind of TikTok lack of patience with hearing music. I don't know.
It happened before. I remember around year 2000. I remember a conversation, very clearly a conversation with some new up and coming DJs back then. And I spoke to one guy who became quite big in France, and he said, "Man, I love crispy bacon, but why is it so long?" I'm like, "The track is 5.5 minutes." What do you mean? And he says it takes so long to build up. And I said to him, "Well, why do you have to just work on the energy and not wait for the
Yeah,
trip and get on the train and let yourself go?" And that changed after 2000, and then longer tracks became okay again. And you're right. Now some of the clubbers nowadays, they wait for the drop, and it's all about the drop. But a drop can only be strong and good and interesting and exciting and whatever if there's been a story before and if there is a story afterwards. It is, for me, a track is like a roller coaster, and it needs time. I mean, some tracks are okay to be 2.5 minutes.
yeah.
A lot of them in UK bases like this, which is no problem. But if you come back to techno music and stuff like that, always for me, the longer the better. I mean, I love long tracks. I always made really long tracks. I mean, on my
Yeah.
last album, some of the tracks were 15 minutes long.
Well, it's funny you mentioned 5 minutes, Chris, because that's
That's
funny.
short.
Yeah,
For me, short.
yeah, and but I don't. But there's definitely been, as well as that kind of evangelism, the coming together, the warmth amongst people again. The body language is lovely as well. There is also, I don't know whether definitely in Manchester, there's a lot of new blood, including my kids, who are coming through. They've been listening to Spotify and YouTube. There's kind of an natural eclecticism that's happened in a way
My
that was,
boy's the same. My boy's the
yeah.
same. Super eclectic.
And I'm like, where the fuck have I find times I was shazamming 21-year-olds, this Afro chat, which I probably should have known and didn't.
I Shazam my son.
Yeah, I know. There's a t-shirt in that. But I think there's definitely, I remember fearful of playing Fabric in that main room, which I'd never played before. And I came up, I really thought about it. And funnily enough, the house and techno stuff was great, and I love that, and I still love that, of course. But it wasn't until I played a kind of up-tempo, kind of cosmic Afro drum record, and it was weird because it almost connected more than the previous, and that was me sensing, wow, something is definitely changing. I mean, obviously we both love electronic deep music; it's a beautiful, wonderful thing. But I also think now Houghton was noticeable last year, where there was a real love of those up-tempo kind of cosmic traps from all the different portals, all the different sounds. That's exciting, I think.
Well, yeah. No, I agree with you. Totally agree with you.
I mean, it's funny now when you look back, because I never actually met you at the time. When did you actually? When I think about your days in Manchester, you lived in. Cause I remember one of your old friends, John Locke, and I knew people around you, but not necessarily you. I'd seen you, but it's such a long time ago. But what year was it? 88, 80?
I moved to England in 1984.
Wow.
I was in London for 2 years. I was working at the French embassy as a waiter. And in 1986, I moved up north to Manchester. This is when I was working in a restaurant. But then again, I started DJing at the Hacienda 1987. And I left Manchester August 88, because this is when I was called by the army. So I missed the whole summer of love, the first summer of love. I went back to France for 1 year, and summer 89, after the army, I went back to Manchester, but I felt like the whole thing had exploded without me on the train. And I felt, fuck.
I never knew
train. I've missed the train. So this is why I decided to go back to France like early 1990, because I thought I want to be involved within the development of that thing, wherever it's going to happen. And it already happened in England, and it hadn't happened in France. So I went back to France to help to build up the scene. And at the beginning in France, there was David Guetta was one of the youngest DJ, and there was like 3 or 4 of us who just tried to do something to develop house music.
I mean, do you think somewhere in those early years in the UK, particularly those formative years in Manchester, do you think it planted something in you musically? Because when you came back to Manchester many years later, I could hear all of that sound, of.
I mean, I think we're very, I don't want to sound old, but I think we're very lucky because we grew up, when we were young, we grew up in a time where every 3 or 4 years, something extremely different was becoming fashionable. I mean, I remember within 10, 12 years of my youth, I went through punk, I discovered hip hop. I saw the disco era, then some kind of 60s revival, and then I understood psychedelic music, but again go-go music and all sorts of different kinds of music that really built who I am today. From funk to disco to new wave. So I saw The Cure, I saw New Order. I was listening to all this. I heard Sugar Hill Gang at the same time as I discovered The Clash. So when house music arrived and then techno, since that, maybe with drum and bass a little bit afterwards, but since that, nothing new has happened. Only kind of, subgenres of what we were listening to. But we grew up in a time where so many different kinds of music, was coming fashionable for the youth. And we kind of took all this. I guess you're the same as me, or people like Justin Robertson, or that generation where we had all this stuff. I guess if you're 20 today, you have the social media, you have Spotify, you have places to discover all this music, but this music is old. This music belongs to your parents' generation. So it's very different. It's very different. And to answer your question, of course, after having lived in UK, not just Manchester, because I was going out a lot in London, and I went to clubs like the Mud Club, and I was doing like more new wave and
Yeah.
kind of, you know, cold wave and stuff clubs as well. So I was really into all sorts of different kinds of music. This has made me who I am. So of course, when I DJ today, or you know, when we first met back then, all this stuff I discovered in England, you know, came in my DJ set. Of course, it has to be.
Yeah, and I can hear that now. You know, I've been playing recently. I really sense there's another. I don't know. I might be wrong on this. It feels like another chapter of you arriving at this place where I feel that presentation of all these different portals, these different sounds in your longer sets. I don't know. There's just a sense. It just feels like it's connecting again in a way that I find quite exciting. And
I
not I'm
agree.
not talking the old Balearic Silverbacks and the old you know, the younger crowd and that. It's really interesting because my kids, they're just coming through. They don't know you. They don't know Francois Kevorkian. They don't know Derek
I
Mc...
think it's healthy. They don't know me.
No, exactly. But the beauty is, then they're going to see these people and going, wow, this is, I really enjoy this Joe Classell guy. I really feel that, you know, I know age is just a number and there's all that kind of cliche about it, but I really feel that there is a more connection with people like yourselves or whoever and Ron Trent than there's ever been. I've noticed that Ron Trent, the crowd seem really young, and you go to We Out Here or Houghton, and there's a really, it's not just the old lot, there's this
It's
new
true. It's true.
generation.
It's good. It's good.
It's wonderful, and there's less
It's really good.
bizarrely. There's almost some things they'll play will be quite odd, not cheesy, but quite odd. But at the same time, there's no snobbery about what something is. It
No,
good or
well, I think we come in a time where, since COVID, hard techno became the new commercial music and the
yeah,
new main thing. You're bound to have some people within that scene who will get bored somehow of it, or who will want something else sometime, and they will try, you know, something else and go to way out here, as you mentioned, and discover people, of course. So you know, I think it's a normal thing.
yeah,
There's always been phases where we felt a bit dusty because the music,
yeah,
you know, became harder and stuff. And I felt not dusty, but I felt out of touch to some of the harder techno scene for quite a long time. And then I feel like now I make more sense to play different things. And I never, I always stuck to what I believed in. So I carried on playing my music, you know, if they want to listen to hard is good for them, no problem with me. And I carry on doing my stuff. I know they'll come back one day. It's no problem.
yeah. I agree. And with where you see things at the moment in your life, obviously you're now definitely choosing where you want to play.
I've
And I'm
always
very
done,
glad
man.
you're doing
I've
San.
always done that.
Yeah,
I've always chose for over 20 years. I've always chose where I want to play.
yeah,
You know, it's always been very simple for me. I've always played for pleasure. Money has never ever been my goal. So all the team I'm working with is the same team I've been working with for the last 30 years. We're not, I mean, my guys are not greedy at all, and they know I just want to have
yeah.
pleasure when I play. So I've always been choosing, and I'd rather play in a smaller place um, than play in a big place for money. So I'd rather play somewhere where I can play music, and it's always been like this, always.
Well, you've never played
So
the game, Laurent. I have to say, you know, I know you. I don't know you that well, but I know you, having watched and seen you and play. You've never played the game, and I don't mean
never,
that, but you haven't. You've just done your thing. You don't show off about it. You don't. You know, you might say things that you're passionate about, but it's a positive thing. And I think, you know, I think people sense that, you know, and in
well,
particular the formative world we have now in TikTok, and I think authenticity just is a nat just shines, you know.
for me, if I don't get any pleasure, if I go to a gig because it's well paid, maybe I'll get some pleasure out of it. But what I mean, if there is no pleasure at first, how the fuck can you make people dance and share pleasure with them? If it's just, you know, if I if I go and behave like a jukebox because I'm going to have to play that type of music because I am in that type of festival, it would mean it would have no sense for me. And the
Yeah.
first thing, I need to entertain myself to be able to entertain other people. I'm a
Yeah.
dancer as well. I used to go to clubs to dance all night, and I want to dance when I DJ. So if there is no pleasure, I don't dance. If I don't dance, I don't make you dance. It's as simple as this. And I've understood that a long time ago. And if there's no pleasure, I would have stopped 10
Yeah.
years ago.
And I guess the Sancho Panza guy, you've known them for a long time, haven't you?
Who?
Sancho Panza, where we're playing
Yeah,
together.
well, I've known Freddie, and I've known the guys from Sancho because I even played on the Sancho Panza sound system at Notting Hill quite a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Yeah. I think we played there also. And it was, I only played properly for me though, properly for them last year when I did the outside place where we're playing again. And I loved it. It was just so wonderfully random. There were people from France, Italy, and
I
I've
loved it.
definitely these smaller gatherings now where you're getting these really kind of. It reminded me of DIY in Nottingham. It had almost a slightly
Very much
free,
so.
and I loved all that. And they're
It,
still going out, and I love it. You know, I love that.
very much so. It was. I had such a good time when I did Sancho Panza because I did a house gig on a Saturday night, and then on Sunday afternoon outside, I played only disco, and um, and the great thing about it, there was 60 years old people and there was like 18 years old kids, and
Yeah,
everybody was together, everybody was super happy, and
yeah.
I could see they were doing like some kind of circus stuff with the kids as well, a little bit further, but the vibe was so unbelievable. It was great. I had a great time. It was a beautiful festival.
It was funny actually because I've been pretty sober now for about pretty much 4 years. You know, no white goods and no alcohol, and it's been. But someone had given me before that gig some chocolate mushroom, which I love actually. But it was quite strong, and it's Freddie, isn't it? I forget his name, the main dude, and I've been talking to him for hours before. It's such a lovely man, just got such a beautiful connection, and I went on and got so into it. And then he came up to me afterwards, and I was so cosmic. I thought it was somebody else, and I thought the next DJ was on. And he went, "No, Luke, I've just been speaking to you before the game." And I was serious. I didn't know who he was. I was so into it. I got so immersed in it. And there was these mad random people who come from France who were just really wonderful. And it just reminded me of those days in the early 90s when you'd be in a chill out room. I remember meeting guys who had been in the army, for fuck's sake, who were cosmic high, and they had left the army, and this whole new world had, with through
It's a
dancing.
community. It's a
Yeah.
proper community. It's a
And
proper
I know
community.
sometimes it sounds trite and a bit cringe, but it's real. That's a real thing where you meet these fucking wonderful mad people in the middle of some woods playing this
It's
odd esoteric music.
it kind of reminded me in a different aspects of music, but it kind of reminded me of tribal gathering
Yeah,
back in the days.
yeah,
There was this sense of community of madness, and we know why we're here, and we're so happy to be here. And but you still have festivals like this. I mean, I'm playing next week to worldwide
oh
in
my God.
sets, which is
Amazing.
jazz. So when I went to Way Out Here, I thought the festival was so amazing, and it was great to play house. And then the day after, I went to listen to the reggae sound system, and the sense of community was amazing. I absolutely loved it. But I'm playing as well next week. I'm playing for Astropolis, which is a very, very old French techno
Oh,
festival
I don't
where,
know
where,
that.
where all the techno guys from Detroit has been playing and stuff. And we're all super happy to do it. And I'm doing actually 3 different sets there. And so I'm doing techno one, I'm doing a bass one, I'm doing a house one. So there is still places where there's still a very strong sense of community within the people who've been going there for a long time and who now are bringing their kids. So it's
Yeah.
nice.
And I think, I mean, one thing I've been thinking about a lot, kind of connected what we said before, but slightly different. I've been rereading the book about the loft, Lawrence. I've been rereading it in this beautiful sunshine that's very rare in this country. And what really struck me was when you look back and there are similarities with now, when I was rereading that period between the mid 70s through to the late 80s and early 90s in New York, it's what struck me, and I know it's an obvious truism, but how much incredible art happened in such difficult circumstances. You know, in the 70s and 80s, New York was on fire, it was in debt. You know, Mancuso and all these parties happened in response to a very difficult world where they took that idea from the Harlem rent-free parties and redid it in their own way. And, you know, sometimes austerity challenges create incredible, and cheap rent, of course, create incredible art. And I think now there are so many challenges for youngsters in clubs. I do believe it's paving the way for people, hopefully, to do their, you know, to do their own DIY thing again, because it feels like it's needed now more than ever.
There's always good things coming out of struggles. Always. There's always people thinking out of the box and will create something positive out of struggled, you know, troubled times. And, you know, whenever people are struggling, they always kind of find solutions to, have, you know, change destiny, I guess, and do something positive. Always. There's always been.
Yeah. Well, look, you know, the heat in this room is I think, reaching 36 degrees. Which
Take off your shirt.
For this old Englishman, I know. I wouldn't put you through that moment of a nakedness. No, I genuinely can't wait to see you there. I'm coming down with my wife. I got married recently. We did it back to front, 15 years together, and we decided to do it towards the end of our relationship, which was a great thing. So I'm going to be look forward to seeing you, and obviously the long set thing. Well, only 3 hours each, but still, you know, not an hour at a festival playing the bangers. But I'm looking.
I don't do 1 hour festival.
I just can't do it. It's mad, isn't it?
I don't do it. I don't do it.
What is it?
No.
10 records, 8 records, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Play the long ones, maybe 3 records.
It depends how long your records are. If you're playing UK bass, 25.
Yeah. Well, listen, Laurent, it's been absolutely wonderful chatting to you. I cannot wait to see you down there. And I'll see you in the woods.
For sure. I can't wait. I'm super excited about it. Thank you so much, Luke.
Take care. Big love. Speak soon.
And his radio soundtrack. Oh, he's gone. That was quick from him. I think he was dying of heat.